By the late 15th century, Europe was running out of spices. The Ottoman Empire controlled the overland routes. Venetian merchants grew rich, while the rest of Europe drowned in greed. Spices were no longer a luxury. They were power, prestige, and survival. In their search for gold, Europeans would discover the veins of the earth itself. Prince Henry the Navigator founded a school at Sagres. There, men learned to read the sky, the compass, the stars, the wind. Each voyage pushed the world's edge a little farther. The goal was now clear. Reach Asia not by land, but by sea. King Manuel I of Portugal prepared a daring expedition to find a sea route to India. He entrusted it to a young but determined captain, Vasco da Gama. His father had once sought the same mission, but died before it began. Now, the son would complete the dream. If God allows, the ocean shall become our road. July 8, 1497. From Lisbon, 4 ships set sail. São Gabriel, São Rafael, Berrio, and a supply ship. Aboard were sailors, soldiers, carpenters, priests, and even convicts, sent to face the unknown. When the sails filled with wind, Portugal's destiny began to move. Their first stops were the Canary Islands and Cape Verde. But as the weeks passed, a strange illness spread among the crew. Men grew weak, their gums bled, and wounds refused to heal. It was scurvy. We now know it was caused by a lack of vitamin C, but back then, no one understood. Months without fresh fruit or vegetables were killing them slowly. Many died not in battle, but for the absence of a lemon. In his log, Vasco da Gama wrote, "God teaches us to fight not only the sea, but our own flesh." The ships turned west, following the Volta do Mar. But the winds died. The sea was silent. Weeks passed without sight of land. The sun burned. The men prayed. The ocean teaches patience, or takes away hope. At night they looked to the stars. By day they buried their dead in the waves. November 1497. The Cape of Good Hope, then known as the Cape of Storms. Winds tore the sails, masts broke, ships drifted apart. 8 sailors died, and 1 ship was crippled. But da Gama refused to turn back. Fear could not make us retreat, for it was God who called us forward. The fleet found refuge near a bay, Mossel Bay. They met local Africans for the first time. Trade was cautious, language unknown. But disease still haunted the crew. Scurvy had left them toothless, trembling, and pale. As merciless as the ocean itself was the weakness of the human body. On December 25th, 1497, they discovered new land. They named it Terra de Natal, the land of birth. The men wept during their Christmas Mass. They hadn't found salvation, only the miracle of survival. March 1498. In Mozambique, Arab merchants controlled the port. Da Gama introduced himself as an envoy of a Christian king, but the locals mistook him for a Muslim trader from Egypt. When they learned the truth, hostility began. In that moment, Vasco da Gama learned his first lesson. Diplomacy would bow before power. The Sultan of Mombasa invited them to anchor in his harbor. But at night, he attacked. Chains were cut, sails raised, and in the darkness, the Portuguese barely escaped. The sea remembered every betrayal. In Malindi, fortune changed. The Sultan welcomed them as allies, and there they met a legendary navigator, Ahmed ibn Majid. A master of the Indian Ocean, Ahmed knew the secret of the winds. Ahmed revealed a secret to da Gama, the monsoon winds. Monsoons were great air currents that changed direction twice a year. In summer, they blew from west to east, carrying ships to India. In winter, they reversed, leading them home. These winds were born from the difference in temperature between land and sea. But in that age, no one could explain it scientifically. For sailors, the monsoon was the breath of God. For centuries, Arab sailors had mastered these cycles. But for Europe, this knowledge was a revelation. Guided by Ahmed, Vasco da Gama became the first European to use the monsoon system to cross the Indian Ocean. The wind was no longer an enemy. The sea whispered its route to him, yet the same wind that carried them to glory would swallow those who missed its turn. The monsoon saves those who know time and devours those who don't. May 20th, 1498. Vasco da Gama set foot in India, in Calicut. He knelt and prayed, but the local merchants laughed at his gifts: glass beads, cheap cloth, copper. Spices were worth more than gold. Europe did not yet understand their value. Negotiations with the Zamorin king failed. But the Portuguese gathered maps, trade routes, and vital intelligence. Those secrets would one day turn the Indian Ocean into a battlefield for empires. The journey home was brutal. Scurvy struck again. Water spoiled. Food was gone. Of 170 men, only 54 survived. But a map endured. The sea route to India now existed. Their bodies died, but their path lived on. The bells of Lisbon rang in celebration. The king granted Vasco da Gama the title Dom, Lord. He returned a hero. But his discovery opened a new era, the era of colonial conquest. Years later, Vasco da Gama returned to India as viceroy. He fell ill and died there, but his name lived forever, etched into the waves he once defied. The sea rewards the brave, but never forgives the proud. As the map closes, one route remains, from Lisbon to Calicut, the path that changed the destiny of humankind. Some discoveries enrich the world, yet exhaust the human soul. Vasco da Gama's route was both triumph and tragedy.